insist.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I demand, I insist.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yes, tell this to all the world.
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday. Top of the morning to you, Jason. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing fantastic, man. I'm
Fantastic.
rested. I'm rested, relaxed, and ready to tackle the week.
Wow. Did you take prescription drugs this morning? Is that what's going on?
Well, prescription. That word prescription. No drugs today, man. I am living high on life.
Is it because you shot a living animal? You unalived a living animal on Saturday?
No, sir. I let all of the deer walk freely. I did not find that big one that I was waiting for, but as you know, if people don't know, it was opening day of gun season here in Michigan. So as it is every November 15th of the year. So It's a tradition. I go over to my brother's house. We normally have like food, play some games the night before, and it's just a great family tradition. Then we all go out, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and get in the woods and sit all day. And it is not about whether we get a deer or not. It is about the camaraderie and the fun. And if you get a deer, great. But if you don't,
what's
no big deal.
what's the go-to family game the night before you go hunting?
Oh, euchre.
You said that so matter of fact. You're like, euchre, it's on.
Euchre.
I don't know that game. I don't know that one. I know Go Fish. That's it.
Well, we sort of leave Go Fish, for the kids table, but the adults table.
Look at that! Look at that! We saved the Go Fish for the kids table. So how do you play euchre? Like, give us a crash course on euchre. And Chris wants to know even how you spell that. So I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it's too early to spell it at the moment. But you play with 5 cards: the 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, right? And you use those cards only out of the deck. So you take all of the correct. That's the correct spelling. You take all of the other cards and discard them, set them aside. So you take your 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, and you shuffle them up and you deal them out, and everybody gets those 5 cards, right? It's an amazing game because then somebody has to call Trump, not the President Trump, but they have to call what's Trump for that hand.
Okay.
And so it could be like spades. It could be, hearts, diamonds.
There's only 4. There's only 4 suits to choose from.
There's only 4 suits to choose from. And so, you call it one of the 4 suits. And then what happens is that if you are the dealer, and let's say, for instance, you set there's going to be 4 cards left at the end, and you flip one up. If it is that you're calling Trump, that round of the 4 suits, then the dealer has to pick up that card and discard a card, and then the person to the left of the dealer now has to start the game. And so they have to lay out their strongest card typically. And the trump cards are the jacks of that. Why am I losing it?
It's too early in the morning for Jason to explain a complicated card game.
Yeah, but let me tell you, it is a fun game. I've been playing it since I was a kid. Euchre's amazing. So if you haven't played euchre, I would definitely encourage you to play euchre.
All right, there you go. So, Monday morning threat briefs where we talk about all things cybersecurity and very
euchre.
Complicated card games. Welcome everybody to Monday morning. As we alluded to, this is our Monday morning threat brief. Thank you so very much for tuning in as Jason and I catch up on the weekend and generally talk about all things cybersecurity first thing Monday morning. We do have a couple rules, chat, that I want to hit really quick. We are streaming across multiple platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, YouTube. Oh, Twitch. Can't forget Twitch. I don't know why I would forget Twitch. If you are tuning in from across those platforms, we do have a couple rules. No racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, or otherwise toxic behavior. We have a 0 tolerance for that. Here on this stream, we do have moderators in chat. I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to all of our moderators and all of our content, producers as well, who tirelessly tune into every single solitary boring stream and make sure that we keep chat free of any racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior. I mean, yeah, boring stream. You got to self-deprecate every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'm excited about today's stream.
Are you? Are you?
You ditched me twice last week. So chat. If you guys missed us last week, I showed up twice. It was the Neal show, obviously, that didn't show up last week. So
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. No, you're not wrong. We talked a little bit about it on Friday. I had a run last week, chat of meetings that showed up at the last minute. It was definitely not my normal scheduled approach to streaming. That's for damn sure.
You know what you tell those meetings? No, that's what you tell them.
With that being said, as you can tell, Jason and I are live. We're pulling live comments out of chat to answer, to talk about. As Jason and I talk about the news for today, feel free to drop your questions, comments, or concerns, or if there's something that you'd like for us to opine upon, this is our opportunity to talk about the news that Jason and I think are the most important things for you to pay attention to this week, but happy to opine upon anything that you guys have got going on. Jason, you said you were super excited. What is it that you are so excited for this morning to talk about? Because I got my own things to talk about. I'd like to see what you got this morning.
I know, and as always, I feel like we're going to run out of time because there's like so much material going on. But I want to start.
Did I hear you say? Did I hear you say we're going to move to 2-hour streams?
2-hour streams. That's right. Buckle up, everybody. Hope you got your cup of coffee. But I think it's we do a lot of like picking on Microsoft, or Microsoft is such a giant, right? There's always stuff, and we'll get to Microsoft.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, are you about to give Microsoft a break?
Yeah, no. There's lots of stuff going on over there. There's some real funny stuff. I mean, you might convince me to start off in the Microsoft realm. I mean, if you really want me to. But all right. So let's I guess get Microsoft out of the way. If you guys weren't paying attention, because you're super busy, you're swamped. The new Microsoft Teams feature allowing chat with anybody via email, even on non-team users. It just introduces this security risk.
Are you saying that there's a problem with just inviting people into your corporate environment based solely on an email that's used for authentication?
Yes, I kind of think that that's a little weird. It's like the old days where you had like a telephone line, and all of a sudden somebody accidentally showed up into your telephone line during your chat, and you were like, "Who the heck is this?" And it was like, "Betty." And you're like, "Well, I don't know you, Betty, and I was just having a conversation with Frank."
But my thing with always allowing email addresses is what happens when you get Jim Bob's tractor sales at gmail.com show up to your Teams meeting.
Yeah. I just think that this is really wild. So if you didn't know that this is a real thing, Microsoft published this. They consider it a feature October 31st. I read through this and I was like, holy smokes, like this is so you have to actually, it's on by default.
Well, and I've added external organizations in my Office 365 tenant for legitimate, exchanges, whatnot. Like you had to, like it was an ass pain to do that. Like Microsoft doesn't make it easy to do that. And now you're saying that they basically said that fuck all that. We're just going to turn it on by default.
They just made it easier for people that are not in your org or not on your wait list to just join in on your conversations. So
I usually tolerate to an extent your Microsoft bashing, but this is incredibly justified. Holy cow! What the fuck is this?
I mean, you actually have to go and disable this feature. So
somebody in chat's asking for a link. Can you get Hannah to post this link up on the BitLift X account so people can get access to this article?
Yeah. I'll make sure that that Hannah gets it. I promise.
Yeah.
And
Go-
she'll share it with you.
Go find Bitlift Cybersecurity over on X, and we'll make sure Hannah gets that link shared up on Bitlift's X page.
Yeah. Yep. So it's really interesting.
So how do you protect against this? I mean, like, again, now you're basically like, if it's on by default, now you've got to go do a bunch of whitelist cleanup now after the fact.
Yeah, you basically have to go into the Microsoft Teams feature, and there's an attribute in there that you actually have to find the attribute Teams messaging policy and set it to false.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Like I'm saying, it's on by default. They released the feature October 31st, and you actually have to go turn this off if you don't want people inviting other people with any email address, even non-Teams email addresses, to the conversations.
You know, for half a second there, I thought you were going to brag about Microsoft's other new feature that they released as part of Teams, which was they're actually going to release a feature inside of Microsoft Teams that prevents screenshots being taken of meetings that are happening across Microsoft Teams. So I thought you were actually going to give Microsoft some credit. That's right, because again, Jason's is definitely it's definitely kind of like the good job Microsoft way to meet the minimum acceptable standard of idiocracy on a Monday morning with your new feature. But they did. Yeah. They also released in the same veins. Apparently, for some reason, they think that that there's a rampant problem in Teams organizations where people are just simply screenshotting stuff that's happening in Teams environments, and so they have now released features in Microsoft Teams to prevent you from screenshotting and recording stuff that's happening on your Teams meetings.
Isn't that wild? I mean, like, that we actually had to release a feature for that.
Here's what I think is, like, when people fundamentally talk about data privacy, when people fundamentally talk about, like, oh, I'm worried about my data going to China, or I'm worried about my data going to OpenAI, or I'm worried about my data going anywhere else. Like, I think people don't fully understand that, like I said, up until Microsoft releases a feature that explicitly disallows you from copying and transcribing your meetings, that shit's all over the place. Yeah. Like you have no sense of data privacy in your organization once it leaves your demarcation point at all.
Yeah. I mean, at least the point that I'm bringing up, they call it, a frictionless experience. I'm not sure on taking screenshots and preventing that inside of meetings. Like, there's sometimes that's a legit thing.
But I mean, how do you protect against that? Because, I mean, imagine you're a third party observer to a board meeting that's being done over Teams, or leading up to a street meeting that's being conducted with Treasury before you go to Teams, right? And somebody takes a screenshot, and it goes completely unnoticed by the security team, and then gets used for insider trading. You have no recourse for that. You have there's no compensating controls for something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's an interesting angle. I wonder if they're ever going to, like, release, like, hey, this is a sensitive meeting, and so that in a sensitive meeting it could follow stricter policies. But, like, in a non-sensitive meeting,
Jason, I'm just going to stop. Jason, I'm just going to stop you right there, because that assumes that organizations have a data classification strategy and a data governance strategy where they would actually be able to tell if a meeting is going to contain sensitive data or not.
Yeah.
I do. I remember doing organization I worked for years ago. We brought in Microsoft to help us with a DLP, data security strategy, and the data classification exercise that they put in front of us was in and of itself a 9-month endeavor. And they were like, you can't do a data protection strategy until you do a 9-month data classification and data discovery strategy to find out where all your sensitive data is in your organization. Like
9 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we talked about something similar to this, like probably 8, 9 months ago, where we were talking about like data classification, having an inventory, asset inventory.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I remember a conversation about that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
But those can take a while. But man, 9 months. I mean, in the next 9 months, can you imagine all the stuff that could go wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Or like, okay, well, I guess I don't need to worry about my private data for 9 months, my company secrets, my crown jewels, or anything like that. Let's just we'll let it hang out for 9 months. It'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Are you done with Microsoft for now, or do you got any more Microsoft stuff that you want to bash on?
Well, I do want to touch upon something.
Okay.
You and I have talked about like AD hardening.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And
We've done a lot of streams on AD hardening.
Yeah, Kerberos and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny, like you and I have talked about that at length. And yet people like on X and just social media in general, like keep bringing this up, like, hey, how do I harden my Active Directory? And, just out in the Microsoft land, the complicated mess that sort of Microsoft 365 and Azure Active Directory bring. And I read through a lot of the comments on there, and it seems to be that people are still like not clear on AD hardening. And so I did want to bring up, inside of the tech community, there is an article that goes over it, and it does a really good job with the in-depthness of AD hardening. And the topic is actually called AD hardening, all one word, lowercase. And there is like 7-part series that this gentleman from Microsoft wrote about on how to properly harden with screenshots and logical flow diagrams and everything. And so, my comment here is simply to just point you in the right direction of a well-documented situation. And a lot of people are still talking about this. It is and this is going to be one of those things that I feel like Active Directory has just morphed and grown. And, its tentacles are all over the place now. And so you do have to pay attention to it. Hardening is probably going to be this continuous living, breathing thing.
I posted the BitLiftX account into chat so people can get to that. Can we have Hannah post that one up as well? Because we've talked a ton. Yeah. We've talked a ton about, as much as we bitch about Microsoft, Jason's really, really good. Like Jason's team's very, very good at hardening Microsoft environments. There's kind of the flip side of that, which is like, do you want to know why Jason's team is good at hardening Microsoft environments? Because there's so much there that needs to be hardened from like a
needs to be hardened. Yeah.
But I do think that Active Directory is at the core of almost every enterprise, because you're think about identity. You're either a Google shop or you're an Active Directory shop. Like that. Correct. That is typically it. That is literally 80 to 90% of the marketplace. That is your identity platform. Is those two. And chances are you're probably Microsoft, just because they've been in the game for so long. And I know that they've tried to push people into Azure AD in the cloud, but that hasn't fundamentally changed, because all we're really talking about, Jason makes this point eloquently whenever we talk on stream together, is all that is an Exchange server in the cloud. It still has Exchange vulnerabilities and Exchange principles applied to it.
100%. Yeah. You've got to pay attention to this. This is a very big thing that will continue to gain. Microsoft isn't taking AD away anytime soon. No. And they just continue to build upon it. And which is, yeah. And when you mention the 80 to 90%, that's 100% true. I mean, all of the orgs that I talk to, whether they're small or large, they fit in one of those two camps. They're a Microsoft 365 or Google Gmail shop. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've got to pay attention to this. So you'll probably still hear us talking about this in, future streams.
I don't see how you can, right? I mean, identity attacks have, I don't want to say that they've picked up, but they've definitely, there's a lot of attention around identity attacks. And I think that it's manifested itself because we've extended identities to applications via API. We've extended identities to applications via, microservices and shared responsibility models and things like that. And so if anything, we have more of an identity problem now than we have in the past, just because of the expanded landscape that we've allowed things to have an identity on the network.
Well, and you continue to see that get worse. You continue to see that identities continue to get pwned from other methodologies that we didn't even think about before.
Yeah.
Just continue to read latest breaking headlines in somebody that has seen a one-off situation in this. Over the weekend, I was reading some other posts from people that are doing independent security research, and they're sort of on the fence around okay, is this a 0-day? Has this really been figured out yet? They didn't feel like it had been, and so they were kind of getting their materials ready. They were showcasing some of their findings so far, and I feel like there's going to be a final report, if you will. Is
this your prediction that within the next 7 to 14 days, but before Thanksgiving, we're going to have some massive Microsoft authentication based attack that's going to be talked about in the next 14 days?
I have a feeling, yes. Based on what I'm seeing and reading, there's some really great guys out there, girls that are doing independent security research, and I love how they just dig in, even when they're not necessarily sure what is going to come up at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. But what they are finding is rather interesting, and so their interest keeps them going. I do believe we'll probably see something. We'll probably see one of those situations where the post comes out, and Microsoft does their normal announcement thing, and with a patch, and you looked at even just last Tuesday, right? I mean, last Tuesday alone, 60 vulnerabilities were patched. This was
last patch Tuesday.
Last patch Tuesday. 60 vulnerabilities were patched, including exploited kernel 0-day, and that is CVE 225 2025 62215, and it allows privilege escalation to system level. Now you could be sitting there thinking, "Gosh, I thought we were beyond that." Right?
No.
I thought we were beyond those types of things, but these 0-day kernel updates and exploits keep coming out, right? So you have to be there thinking okay, there's probably still more sitting on the system that haven't been identified yet. So,
I mean, I think when we get to the end of this year, we're going to have an interesting stat that there were more 0 days in 2025 than I think we've seen in previous years cumulative.
I think we're living right now. I love the time that we're living in.
Yeah.
For one, we are seeing, like you said, more 0 days. The 0 clicks are also on the rise, and the AI agentic vulnerabilities are right at our footsteps. They're right on the doorstep.
Well, since you invoked the AI gods, it's my turn.
Okay. All right.
And this, we talked a little bit about this on Friday with Tea with a Hacker, and I gave my 2 cents very, very briefly with it on Tea with a Hacker on Friday, but I knew I was going to bring it up with you on Monday.
Okay.
And it's this Anthropic report over using Claude Code to orchestrate cyber attacks. Now, before you opine upon this, I want to say a couple things as I've watched over the weekend, and if I trust you enough, Jason, that my opinion isn't going to taint yours, and that you're going to respond how you want to. But having mentioned it on Friday, and then watch the weekend as well, and then watch social media kind of do social media's thing over the last week. The people all right. So I'm getting worked up. Whew, hold on for a second. The caffeine is hitting, and I'm starting to get like the soapbox is starting to want to crawl out from underneath the desk, and I gotta control it for a second. All right, for those who are unaware, for those who may be hearing about this for the first time, Anthropic released a report where they had uncovered an espionage group that was using Claude Code in a distributed espionage attack where basically it was instructing Claude Code through a series of MCP servers and tool calls to conduct an offensive cyber operation. Now, the community, for whatever reason, is being completely gaslit, or maybe they're intentionally gaslighting everybody else over this entire conversation because they're like, oh my God, that's not sophisticated. There's that argument. Then there's fuck Anthropic. They didn't release any IOCs. These guys are just, hyping it up and gaslighting the entire cybersecurity community. Last time I checked, Anthropic was an AI company, not a cybersecurity company. And then furthermore, people are like, whatever, man, we've been automating pen tests for God knows how long. This isn't anything new. And people are missing, in my opinion, with this news, people are missing the forest for the trees in this conversation. And so I'll pause there, Jason, before I absolutely stand on a soapbox and absolutely start melting this thing down for you to opine upon this.
Man, this is the thing that I think we're all sort of concerned about with AI. My view is the cyber you know what, I did see this post. I did see some people talking about it, and people kept referencing them as TAs, threat actors, right?
Yeah.
Removing the word criminal out of them. I always refer to them as criminal because I think their activity is criminal. But okay, so these threat actors, I'll embark upon this new language, are simply using the software that is in front of them.
Yes.
That's made available.
Yes.
And this is why you need to be using AI to help with defenses, because we know that these threat actors are also going to be using AI to carry out offensive attacks. So you have to be using it as well. You have to fight AI with AI.
I think that there's that, but here's what I think is not being talked about this from a security perspective, right? I'll pick on you for a second because you like to pick on Microsoft. If threat actors were leveraging SharePoint to deliver malware via built-in SharePoint features, you and every other cybersecurity practitioner would be like, why the fuck doesn't Microsoft do anything about it? Where are IOCs for Microsoft? Why isn't Microsoft, why are we making a big deal about threat actors using SharePoint? They've been using Dropbox or, insert software package here to deliver their malware for decades. Why, you guys wouldn't have a conversation. And I say you guys like, the cybersecurity community, you guys wouldn't be having this same vitriol over somebody using SharePoint to deliver malware as you are over this Anthropic report, when in fact, what this shows is a lack of security controls on Anthropic's part, where they have intentionally architected and built a system that is supposed to have guardrails in place to prevent malicious activity being injected into the prompt. And they have had that security control bypassed. I have yet to see a single article. I've yet to see a single cyber influencer. I've yet to see a single cyber researcher that talks about how this is a leading indicator of the epidemic of a lack of input control into the model.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. Like, but they are going to have the same problems
Yes.
that any other software company does.
Yes.
The problem is they are trying to ship code as fast as possible, make their models better so that they can increase revenue and keep users using the system, all while maybe not paying attention if the rear tire is falling off the car.
100%.
You know, it's about going faster so that we get more air underneath the car to keep the car up off the ground. I'm not disagreeing with what you're talking about here. There are going to be problems with the models, and the models are going to be like they were able to basically jailbreak Claude, dividing those malicious instructions and creating the subtasks. I mean, I read about this and I was like, well, this does need to get reported, you know, to Anthropic, and they need to focus in on this because this is where it could get off the rails.
Exactly.
But at the same time, like you know, the threat actor is simply, they probably have a paid for subscription.
And here's what I'll also say about the IOC thing. Hold on, Jason, real quick. This is what I'll say about the IOC thing. People are mad that Anthropic didn't release any IOCs. They told you in the report exactly how they bypassed the guardrails on the model.
Yeah.
You may not like it, but that's an IOC in the AI realm. Congratulations. Yeah. We're past IP addresses. We're past hashes. We're past domains. They did. They gave you an IOC. They gave you IOC in the prompts and the prompt ideology that threat actors use to bypass the prompts.
100%. And so this is where you come to, you need to be using the AI just as much. Like if you're not using AI on a daily basis, maybe even on, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, or on an hourly basis, like, and you have a tab pulled up all day long, you need to get knowledgeable around AI just as much as the adversaries do. Because if you don't, then you will become a victim of the problem here. Yeah. That's just the reality. And people are like, well, I understand, like, I'm not coming to you with no background in IT. I understand your plate's full. You're full of like IT operational stuff that's going on, but you're either hiring like an outsourced company to help you, or you've got to do something. You've got to stay vigilant and aware of these things. And the only thing that in this realm on this topic is to actually use the tool and know what the tool is capable of giving up as far as information wise. Because if it will do it for threat actors, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, your IOCs out of this chat after I get done ranting, your IOCs out of this is learn how to do prompt injection, because all this was a bypass of security controls on the input validation, which is the input validation of Claude code to do malicious work. This is classic input validation challenges right here.
Yep. All
right, Jason, you got one?
So, all of you Palo Alto people out there, so back on November 3rd, I thought that this was interesting. This was a Palo Alto Networks actually disclosed a critical denial of service vulnerability in their awesome, 6-figure Pan OS software. They're super expensive stacks, right? Hey, we're the best of the best of the best, which Palo Alto is a good company. But at the same time, this flaw, which I thought was interesting because it came out as a 0-day and then they quickly came up with a patch right afterwards. But while it was a 0-day and there wasn't a patch for it, and if you have not patched yet, you need to go patch, because what we're talking about is this vulnerability poses significant risk to the organization. Like, we could be on a video call right now and your internet could go down.
Yeah.
And
availability is part of the CIA triad, chat, just in case you needed a CIA triad refresher.
Yes. So attackers used this exploit in without authentication, mind you, no authentication. So no credentials were compromised here. The user interacted with the Palo Alto firewall by sending basically flawed or unusual packets to the device, and the device reboots with no warning.
That's a feature. I mean, if they're taking the Microsoft playbook, that's a feature, right? That's remote administration. If you have to restart the Palo Alto, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably time that you rebooted your Palo Alto firewall. Anyhow, there were probably some pending changes sitting there. But I'm just wanting to make sure that everybody is aware that if you've got a PAN firewall and you haven't updated this baby yet, this vulnerability is sitting there. And all it needs, it doesn't need credentials. It just needs some nice packet information sent to it from a TA, a threat actor, and they're going to reboot your firewall on you.
A threat actor or a curious individual with a VPS set up in DigitalOcean that just sends random packets out to every endpoint on the internet.
We're not talking about anybody that we know.
No,
But if you are said person with a $20 a month subscription to DigitalOcean and such services, and
we're not condoning those services here. We're giving a tabletop example of how this attack can manifest itself.
100% tabletop example.
Yeah.
So I think that it's the reason why I'm bringing this up, and you could say, hey, Jason, this was November 13th, so it was last week's news. I'm trying to showcase to people, because I talk about this.
It hasn't been patched in 7 days in most people's organization.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to.
No.
So if you didn't run out in the last 7 days and patch your Palo Alto, this vulnerability is still sitting there,
so
quietly waiting.
We could talk about that, right? Because I could share stories. Large organizations don't just patch. They just don't patch the border firewalls or the border Palo Altos on a whim.
They, hey, we got to get signatures for that. We got to get the OKs from the CEO.
We got to have planned downtime. We've got to make sure that if it's running data center on-prem stuff, that we've got backup plans. Do we fire up our BCP process and run this thing in our secondary data center? Do we have hot swap, processes while we patch this exit node versus that exit node? Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I remember a conversation.
I was going to say, you've done networking patching before. You can explain this better than I can.
I don't. Do you? I have PTSD from those times, man. I have moved on from those days for sanity purposes. But it was about 2 years ago. I remember this conversation with a casino. I'll leave it at that. And we were having this conversation around how often, we patch and reboot systems, to make sure things are clean, running fresh, and so on and so forth. But, the casino, they don't want to go down, and they want to make sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed as far as, things have been checked out. So you have to go, and I'm sure everybody is probably aware of this, you got to go and patch your non-primary firewall, and make sure that it's all hunky-dory. So you have to actually make sure that the firewall is in the same state, same configuration as your primary firewall. And even if you have a redundant pair, right? And there's failover. And so the funny thing is the guy was like, well, we try and do it maybe once a quarter, but sometimes we always don't make the once a quarter. And so then it turns into once every 6 months. It's just, so I'm reading this, and all I'm thinking about is all of the customers that I have talked to over the years, right? that have Palo Altos in the amount of time that they let go by between patching, rebooting. It's just, so I wanted to bring this up, like, because people are always like, oh, well, we change our passwords and credentials, right? Well, hello, this vulnerability here doesn't even need credentials, my friends.
Yeah.
It all it needs to receive is this malformed packet. And then once it receives the malformed packet, it doesn't know what to do with it, and it reboots.
And if you're a Palo Alto salesman, what you hear is, I need to go sell my entire enterprise a firewall that sits in front of this firewall. The only difference between those two firewalls is that this one's been patched and this one hasn't.
Yeah. So now you have 2 for your primary and your failover, but we need to sell you 2 more.
That's right.
So now I've sold 4 firewalls.
That's right.
All while the Palo Alto sales guy is sitting out on his boat, smoking his cigar, revving the engines because he's making like $500K a year being a sales guy.
Jesus.
Not that I've talked to any of those guys before ever.
I mean, and here's the thing that like. And Beard hits it right there on the head, right? I'm sorry. Isn't one of the primary functions of a firewall to be able to properly handle malformed packets?
One would think so. But, you throw something at me like a hot potato, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop it.
This one was super malformed, and unfortunately, your Palo Alto service agreement only says that I can handle normal malformed packets.
Normal packets, yeah. Don't send it anything it can't understand. So I don't know. And then if there's anybody out there in the realm of Cisco and
oh my God, you're just going torched earth on all the big names today, aren't you?
Dude, I am not holding back. Because this is the stuff that people continue to tell us, like over the phone, and if like customers are watching, I'm not going to divulge your name or anything, but like we just continue to hear this stuff coming out of people's mouth, and we're like, where is that coming from? That mindset, right?
Yeah.
We've got Citrix. It's locked down pretty tight.
Oh, did you say Citrix? God, Citrix is still a thing.
Yeah. It's still out there, bro.
God,
and, it's heavily used, man. And so there was several 0 days exploited in the wild. 2 vulnerabilities. They released some CVEs right away, but attackers moved fast on this, scanning exposed devices and leveraging 0 days ahead of the patch rollout. It was pretty amazing because they're, again, big systems. Citrix, you're probably not patching it on a weekly basis. You probably can't move that fast, right? So systems that were internet facing, which a lot of Citrix systems are internet facing.
that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. Were breached. Again, here, anomalous activity was taking place that wasn't being monitored for. And the management interfaces, they're actually telling you to restrict access to the management interfaces. And essentially, like, if you can't apply this patch, restrict management interfaces.
But when I hear that, I'm like, do you have like a vacancy sign on your management interfaces where you're like, hey, come on over to the management side. Like, we're good. You can use this interface. Oh, everything's full on the public side. Come over to the management interfaces. Like, why the fuck aren't you, why are you leaving your management interfaces vacant?
It is appalling to me. I don't even know what to do anymore. But it must be a thing, because otherwise I don't think that they would, like, I think that they would have some data like, hey, how many management interfaces have been left vacant, and how can this be exposed? And then they're like, oh, holy smokes, this is pretty bad. So they actually write this report.
Oh, this year's gonna. But here's what I'll say though, right? Like I think, like so as I listen to you talk, here's where my mind goes though, Jason, is this is why automation means more now than it ever did in the entirety of cybersecurity. And I'm not even talking about AI. Like this is not an AI plug. This is an automation plug because we are going to get crushed. If we're not already, we're going to get crushed by volume. And I would argue that we're past the days where most of your SOC team is inundated with false positives, and instead they're going to be inundated with triaging the shit that's happening in the real world every day. Not every single one of them is going to be a massive attack, but it's like, you know, Citrix 0 day happens and you've got to go like, okay, are we exposed? Do we have any Citrix environments? Does this impact us? Do we have management interfaces exposed? And to your point, you've got to do that so fast because you have N minus X amount of minutes until attackers automate the piss out of this.
Yes.
And mass exploit the entire internet with it.
So again, let's come back to AI for a moment. AI is going to help these TAs, threat actors.
That's your new thing all week. Like I'm gonna see that from you all week. You're gonna send me TAs and fucking text messages all week.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's because like in college, right? You know, you had your like TA. Right?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And now I'm like, so it's hard for me to like get that out of my mind. And now we're actually using TA over here in the concept of threat actor, but I think they're criminals. Like they're criminals. but anyhow, yeah, you're right. I mean, like when you think about it here, these threat actors are using AI to automate all this stuff to move with speed, like lightning.
Yep.
And so come back to AI for a moment. One thing that I would press upon you guys is you guys are sort of out in the space, and we see this. Prospects and customers are coming to us with like, hey, how can we move faster? How can we use AI? What products do you guys have that AI is in it? And so I always start off and preface the conversation with this, that a chatbot in the product does not constitute that there is AI throughout the whole software package.
Amen.
So you need, if the sales guy points to a chatbot, call him out right away. Hold up, pal. Vehemently,
be rude.
Pull, like, this is a chatbot. And I understand that this is an AI chatbot, but where else in your product is AI inserted to help you solve problems quickly?
Yeah.
This is the biggest misnomer in the space right now that not a lot of people are asking this question. Is the LLM looking at data? Is it looking at processes? Is it looking at procedures? Is it looking at normalizing data? Is it looking at activity, behavioral patterns? Is it inferring anything? Is it not inferring anything because it already knows? Like, we need to be asking these questions because I am hearing from prospects, I'm looking at product so-and-so, and they say that they have got all of this AI. I'm like, did you do a demo? Did you do a POC? Did you use it inside of your environment? And
does it work?
Does it work? But does it actually solve the question and the problem that you're going after?
So let me ask you this as a product company, Jason, right? I know you do manage detection response, but you're a product company. Let me ask you this one. Is AI a product or a feature?
I think it's a whole new product.
Okay. All right. I wasn't expecting you to go there. Say more.
I think it's a whole new product because here's the thing.
This is my side-eyeing look of skepticism as you think about this.
Yeah. No. I've thought about this a lot because a lot of people are putting the AI as a feature in their product, right? But the challenge here is AI in itself is going to have tens of hundreds or even maybe eventually even thousands of feature functions that are going to be AI driven in it. And so it's going to become the product. At some point, it's going to grow at such a scale within there. It should. And so at some point, people are going to look around and be like, wow, our product was made up of an analytic engine, an automation engine, a this engine, a that engine. But the AI has actually overtaken the amount by volume and size and feature functions that people are going to say, that part of our product is larger than the original part of our product.
So chat, I'm gonna explain to you all a real life version of why we do not sit inside of an echo chamber inside of Cyber Insecurity. We never have. For the last 5 years that we've been streaming, we have welcomed all sorts of diverse opinions and ideas on every walk of life topic that we discuss. Jason, I vehemently disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay.
I welcome your civil discourse in this, as we always do, but I do not think under any circumstances at all whatsoever, now or the foreseeable future, is AI anything more than a feature.
Really? Do tell. I would love to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you look at let's start with the moat or the proprietariness or the intellectual property that makes a product, makes it successful in the space. There is nothing that you, BitLift, Red Canary, blah, blah, Microsoft, Google, blah, 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 insert company, whatever there is nothing you can create with AI as a product that is 100% unique from anybody else out there.
I think that what is going to happen is that it's going to be, you take this thought pattern and you could say, well, there's going to be like nothing unique, right? But yet people still create uniqueness every day out of like materials and aluminum and steel and everything else. And it's not that you used any other different types of aluminum or steel. Like you didn't create the new aluminum that's never been created before.
Jens, when you clip this, make sure you put the Joker smile on my face right here as Jason makes my point for me.
But if you think about it, though, people are going to come up with new ways of using it.
So is the aluminum or the steel in your example, is it a feature or is it a product?
You can productize features.
You can productize features all day long, but that doesn't change the underlying fact that it is still a feature. That's it, chat. That's it, chat. There was the sound of defeat.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll continue to debate this for years to come.
We will.
But I like I said, I think we're still living in an awesome time.
I do. Make no doubt about it. Make no doubt about it. Yeah. And I don't say this. I don't bring this up to be argumentative, but I do think that like my pragmatic side around all this, the reason that I make the distinction, just to clarify my position on this, the reason I make the distinction is because I don't yet think, I think that when you put yourself in a position to where AI is the product, you make yourself highly susceptible to devaluing the intellect that makes your company awesome. If you're saying that the AI, the artificial intelligence, is the moat, if you're saying that it is the product, if you're saying that it is the thing that makes our company awesome, what about the people who make that product do what it does? How about the people who designed it? How about the people who run it? How about the people who interface with your customers? Like, I don't think that I do not have a belief that AI can be a product.
I mean, at some point, the people are going to be sitting on the beach somewhere
Oh,
because we're all going to
oh.
have, AI agents doing the work for us.
So funny you should say that. Funny you say that because in the last 2 weeks, my feed is filled up with CEOs who are now explicitly saying that AI will not take human jobs.
Yeah.
Now it is all over the socials. It's all over the socials now.
So then why the layoffs? But then you have these CEOs of large companies saying, "Hey, AI has created such efficiencies in our companies that these folks are being laid off." The layoff.
So the Take-Two CEO was on CNBC this morning, and I'll try to find this clip if they've posted up on YouTube chat. But the Take-Two CEO, so the guys who make Grand Theft Auto or try to make Grand Theft Auto, it's only been delayed for like 900 years, right, for GTA 6, whatever. He was like, and this is why I love Andrew on CNBC, but he explicitly asked the Take-Two CEO, he said, do you think that AI will get to a point where, Andrew and Joe, who are two of the commentators on CNBC, where I and Joe can create games as good as GTA 6? And the Take-Two CEO was like, absolutely fucking not. He didn't say fucking, but he said absolutely not on air. He was like, when we talk about efficiencies in AI, he came out and explicitly said it. We're not talking about replacing people with AI. He says we're trying to automate the mundane task so that you can do more of the awesome stuff. Like that is now the pitch line. The pitch line.
I'm in agreement with that. Like there are so many things that AI is helpful at that we're like either bored or it is mundane and people don't want to do. So it's like, well, let's have AI help us with that. And then if you want to go over and think hard about these other challenges, you can still use AI to help you think through them, maybe even give you ideas to run down the road. But, AI has not replaced the human brain. The intelligence that so you're on that side of the fence over there on that one, huh? But the thing is that the human brain is still beautiful, like still comes up with amazing new creations all the time. And I think that AI will help accelerate that, like writer's block, right? There's a lot of people that out there that write awesome books.
Yeah.
And writer's block is a thing, probably comes from like the stress and anxiety of like having to get a book out on time and a deadline and so on and so forth. But, writers can go and use AI and help them overcome writer's block, right? You could have that same situation going on with inside of like your IT career. You're in a block. You're in this moment where you're like trying to figure out the next steps, or how do you learn this, or how do you learn that, or how do you overcome this challenge? And AI can be that advocate, that coach that helps get you on the other side.
I think, Chad, what Jason and I can really agree on, and I think that this Anthropic report, despise what the shitty, social, audience happens to say about like the advancedness of this, or that there's no IOCs or whatever, or the garbage that goes out on social media about this is, Jason and I were chatting before this stream that we're coming up on a year of streaming together, which was absolutely astounding to Jason and I that we're coming up on a year streaming together. Yeah. When Jason first started streaming, I can remember one of the biggest things that he was an advocate about when we first started streaming last year was about how BitLift tries to do as much automation as possible, because one of the things that they see is they see attackers when they land on boxes automating their attack infrastructure to have successful attacks. And that's not new to the space. That's happened for decades, but there's definitely been an increase and a ramp up of that. And I think when you add in the eye-opening experience around this Anthropic report about using Claude Code and using MCP servers, and again, having a distributed attack infrastructure with which to conduct your offensive cyber operations, in addition to the automation, it continues. You don't have to worry about sophistication. You don't have to worry about 0 days. You don't have to worry about any of that in this conversation. All you have to worry about is the fact that attackers, from the time that they point their lasers at your company, or the time that they find a 0 day, or the time that they find a vulnerability, until the time that they compromise your infrastructure, will literally be boiled down to seconds, in my opinion. Literally. Yeah. And if you are not thinking, how do you get your operations, whether it's GRC and compliance, whether it's policy creation, whether it's firewall rules, whether it's code reviews, whether it's pen testing, incident response, threat hunting, whatever aspect it is in a CISO organization, if you're not thinking, how do you get that down to seconds? Congratulations, you are going to be fucking roadkill on the cyber highway.
Yep. It all boils down to that AI is truly lowering the barrier for these sophisticated attacks. They're just lowering the barrier. The barrier to entry now, if you went back a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the barrier was higher, right? Yeah. Now the barrier to entry for sophisticated attacks is seconds.
Yeah.
And I want to go to this, we still wholeheartedly believe that automation, AI, is the name of the game for defense in depth, MDR. I think MDR is going to continue to evolve. And here's one thing: I continue to hear people say this, that and I've read forums out there like that. SIM is dead. And I'm like, hang on a second. We keep hearing about these things in our cybersecurity space. Oh, that's dead. That's dead. Well, wait a minute. Hang on a second. You might have lost interest in it, or you think that it had a moment, but it actually got folded into the norm.
Yeah.
And just because you folded it into the norm and the space now considers that foundationally necessary, it's not dead. And I relate SIM and log management and the whole idea that you need to be analyzing logs in real time in order for you to perform, incident response forensics, detection and response. I mean, you need to have an awesome log management type of approach. But I liken this to, you wouldn't say a home is dead. Housing's not dying.
No.
People aren't going to never buy a house again. And so the whole fact that you are going to have to manage and maintain logs and have a great SIM or great log management tool, it may morph. Right? It's going to innovate. It's going to change over time because it has to. Yep. It has to change in order to keep up with the modern day attacks.
That's right.
And so, the whole idea of something that is dead, no, you have to have a place for logs to go to that are centralized, look across the whole entire environment, and analyzed in real time and help you respond in real time so that you can do investigations, detection, and so on and so forth. But I just, you're never going to say antivirus, anti-malware, in EDR, something on an endpoint is dead.
Yeah.
You're just never going to say that. If you do, I think you probably, need to find a new job.
Well, on that note, Jason, I did want to give you this compliment. One of our first-time chatters watching this stream did come up and say that the guy on the right sounds like a genius. You're on the right-hand side of my screen, so this comment is clearly for you, Jason. Congratulations.
Oh,
you sound like a genius. Good job.
Well, thank you for the comment, but I really don't try. I'm just here every Monday trying to help support the community and make sure that you guys are aware of that. But I really do appreciate the comment. Thank you.
Always, Jason. With that being said, we're about 6 minutes over. Chat, I'm real quick before I let Jason sign us off. Make sure you tune in today, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be on stream with my good buddy, Bobby Ford. We're going to be doing Gone Fishing with Cyber Insecurity. We're going to talk about social engineering attacks and deep fakes and things like that. So 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just in case you don't get the secondary notification from Twitch. We are going to cut the stream after Jason signs us off because I've got to go do a dry run with Bobby later today, and I can't be on stream and do a dry run at the same time. So make sure you do have the notification turned on 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a new show that will be coming in on Mondays as well. Jason? Oh, everybody should hang out with BeardSec? Yeah, if BeardSec's co-working, you should go hang out with BeardSec, who's co-working. Are you co-working now? We'll raid you, BeardSec.
Yeah.
Sign us off, Jason.
Hope you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much. Have an awesome Monday. Get ready for Thanksgiving. I want to give you a heads up. We typically see cybersecurity attacks increase around the holidays. So I would encourage you guys to get ahead of this. If you know that there's some gaps that you need to fill between now and then, get this stuff. If you want to have a peaceful, relaxing time with your family around the holidays upcoming, try and get this stuff knocked out of the park and out of the way before the holidays come. But with that, see you guys again next Monday, as long as Neal shows up and doesn't,
oh God, Jason, sorry. Technical issues, like we had to push you off the screen or something like that. Chat, I'm going to let BeardSec lead the raid. If you've never participated in a raid before, do make sure you stick around. We're going to go hang out with BeardSec till about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Again, come tune in with me and Bobby Ford as we do Gone Fishing with Cyber Insecurity. BeardSec, take it away.